Good evening, everyone. You're in the right place at the right time. This is the Arsenal Fan Circle Thursday evening session. I'm Stan the Man, your occasional host, designated driver of the airwaves, and moderator of
Still says scheduled.
tonight's cacophony of.
Doesn't say
So
live.
before it doesn't say live, it says live
No.
on my
Yep.
screen.
Yeah,
Does it on mine?
It says live
Oh
on
well.
mine. Can you hear us in the chat box, everyone?
Yep. I've got you on the other screen, so I know we are live. Tony, be
Tony.
quiet.
Be quiet, Tony.
Tony
Anyway,
said
Messing up his whole spiel. He has work. Shut up.
Before we get
Stop.
started, anyway, let's try and introduce everyone. Tony, what's been happening?
Mainly working out, nurses coming and going to a doctor, just busy with all that stuff.
Yeah, how's the leg?
Trying. Got a little sore on it right now. The newest one's like half an inch to 3/4 of an inch too long, so I can't keep it on too long because it hurts my leg. So I only can wear it about an hour or two a day.
Okay. Below Tony, we've got Lolo on the stoop from Brooklyn, New York. How's it going, Lolo? What you been up to, mate?
Good, man. I'm doing very well. Glad to be invited on the show with Stan as the host. I'm excited about this. It's not gonna be the trip from last week. I guarantee you that much. That was a trip. But yeah, man, I'm doing all right. You know what's interesting? Maybe you guys have this issue. I feel like for the longest time I was rewatching The Office. So like after I do all my football stuff. Before bed, I'd throw on The Office.
UK
and,
office? Or is that the UK or the American?
the US one. I'll start them over, and I'll start series like that over, and just watch the whole thing over. Like kind of my bedtime routine of that. But I finished that, and I switched to The Punisher, and I feel like when I was doing that, everything was all happy and cheery, and everything was good in life, and everything was silly. And this past couple weeks have been dark, and I think it's due to me watching The Punisher. Like I'm judging everyone on the street. Like I'm like, oh, he just dropped that bag. He just dropped that bag, and then he picks it up, and it's like a baby bag or something. And I'm like, so I don't know. I'm hoping you guys kick me out of this dark mode. But if I do attack you, look out! I go to kill.
Hey, at least it's a brilliant show. I hope they make another season of
It
it.
really is.
Maybe
It
start
really is.
watching My Little Pony or something a little bit more chilled, yeah, with the kids or something
Oh,
like that.
I've watched
Teletubbies.
I've watched too much of all that. I know music from the My Little Pony movie, and I'll catch myself singing something. I'm like, what is that? Oh, that's My Little Pony. I'm by myself. Like my daughter's not here. Why am I singing? Anyway, that and Encanto, of course, but we don't talk
So
about
next on the panel, we've got Gary, and it's Gary's birthday today, and Gary has decided to spend his birthday with us. Happy birthday, Gary.
Happy birthday.
Sounds
Cheers,
nice.
everyone.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers to you. You been doing anything special with the family?
I just been eating all day.
Yeah? Fair play, mate.
That's a
Fair
good
play.
thing. You know what? Also, it's been the Masters, right? So,
Oh, yeah.
and when I have my birthday on the Masters, Tigers won the last couple of years, the last couple of times.
Oh, really?
And this
Did you
time
put a bet on?
I did. I put lots of bets on.
I almost put a bet on him. Did you put a bet on him to win it? Because he was like 5,000 to 1 odds.
Yeah, it was ridiculous odds.
like-
yeah. I didn't put lots, but I just put some on because I was like, yeah, I can't see him winning it because it's 4 days. He's not gonna. He won't last for 4 days. But the fact that he's even in the top 20 right now is amazing in itself, based on where he's come from. So I watched that. I watched most of that. Meanwhile, like I said, I've been eating all day, and now it's time for a drink. So
What special
man,
foods
happy
did you
birthday.
have, Gary?
Let's see. I had a breakfast sandwich, which I don't usually do. Oh shoot! I just said that over the wire. The boss doesn't. Then I had some
Boss-
Korean. Then I had some
Boss
Korean.
didn't make her fix you anything?
Well, no, yeah, she got me dinner. So we had this like double fried chicken, which was really good, dipped in some sauce. So that's what I had for dinner. That was really good. Then I had Korean for lunch. So I did it all.
Nice. So just a big shout out to everyone out there in the chat box. BX Gunner's in there, Thunder Road's in there. Thank you for joining us. And Mr. Tom 21. So let's get into it then. Crystal Palace 3, Arsenal 0. And I remember us talking about this one just before, the previous show. But what I want to do first of all is just go over the lineups and basically what your initial thoughts were when you saw the lineups. Obviously, there was a change or two. Gary, when you saw the lineup and you saw that Tavares was in instead of Tierney, how did you feel initially?
I definitely was concerned because that, of course, that meant that something's not right with Tierney. And of course, we didn't hear anything about that. It didn't seem like he was going to be out coming in. So yeah, that's concern. I mean, initially we were thinking, will Ramsdale be back? Yep, he's back. Good. All the youngsters back. Yep, they're good. And then you're like, all right. So now we've got our backups playing on both, and they're both wings, I guess, or the wing backs or fullbacks, whatever you want to call them. So like, this is going to be a tough one. Well, you know what? We've got Partey, right? So hopefully that will protect our back line somewhat because he's been playing really good. But no, I think losing those two and then, yeah, it was going to be tough, but I figured we still could get something out of it at that point. Maybe get a draw would be fine at that point. I think a win under that situation would probably be really tough. Plus, Crystal Palace has been playing really well, so it was going to be even tougher playing. They were playing at home, so yeah, everything about this, I think we got a big surprise, really bad one. This game, if we talk about it, this looks similar to the Brentford game. So that's kind of the vibes I got from it eventually. But yeah, not having Tierney was going to be an issue for us. So I was not too happy about that. And the game turned out exactly that way. We've got our margins are really tight, right? And now it seems it doesn't matter where we lose people. It's going to be a problem, right? We lost Tomiyasu. Cedric stepped up. Nuno stepped in. He did good early in the season for a bit. Then he kind of fell off. And for me, it always comes down to, are they professional enough to come in and play, or are they getting enough games? I think Cedric has shown that he doesn't need enough games to come in and perform. Nuno, still young, he needs games, or else it's just not going to – we saw it's not going to work. So hopefully that is a lesson that Arteta has figured out. Certain players can sit and certain players can't. And I think
we will go into individual performances in a little bit more detail, but I'll be interested, Lolo, going into the game. What was your prediction? What did you say on your show?
My prediction was quite the opposite of what happened. I think I predicted 2-0. I wanted a clean sheet. I expected a clean sheet. But I thought there would be goals from us, clearly. And that didn't happen.
Yeah, me too. I think I went with a 2-1 as well. I mean, when you saw the initial lineup and before a ball was kicked and you're looking at the lineup, did you have any concerns, or did you think we should be able to take care of business with that lineup?
I totally thought we could take care of business with that because I have faith in Tavares. Yes, he's young. Yes, he looked a fool against Liverpool, but they can make anybody look a fool, and he doesn't get tons of game time. But remember when people were trying to crown him in Tierney's position? Remember that? Like he can ball. So I wasn't concerned about that. I was interested to know the reasoning of Martinelli over Emile Smith-Rowe. You gone this long. I mean the reverse. We've gone this long.
Could that have been something to do with the travel that he went on his international duties?
To me, if you're on the bench, like
fit enough.
If you're on the bench and you're a starter and you're not starting, that's a choice. That's a manager's choice for some reason. So maybe he was tired. Maybe he showed something. But I think it's moreover what I was telling you, Gary, on your show when we actually talked football. I said the only way we lose this match is going to be due to Mikel Arteta's. I wish it was Mikel Antonio. Mikel Arteta's 40th birthday party. It was during the international break. He was there, probably smoking a cigar, having some whiskey, and there's guys around him. Oh, you're doing really well. You're doing really well. He's like, oh, thank you, thank you. And for Crystal Palace, I'm going to. And he like got into his own head and came up with this new thing that was going to work. But you got to realize, as soon as Tierney was out,
Yeah.
why make the entire left side not, or the top and the bottom of your left side both not usual starters? Like, you have Martinelli on the bench. For that reason alone, like, once Tierney was dropped, it's like, fuck, you know what? We're going back with Martinelli. You'll come in the 70th and score like you always do, Emil. Relax. I kind of felt, so that concerned me a little bit. Of course, Emil Smith-Rowe, I have faith in. We'll get into individuals, as you said, but as far as lineups, I was shocked to see Ramsdale. Didn't expect him at all.
Okay.
But the overall, are we going to get into my overall opinion of the match, or just that?
Well, we're going to come into that a little bit, mate. We're going to go through some of the match in more detail. Tony, do you have anything to add about the starting lineup when you saw Tavares was in and not Martinelli, or was you not concerned?
I wasn't that concerned. I really didn't think Martinelli would start since he went over to South America, had the high altitude game. Surrey wasn't fully up for it, but he did look kind of good when he came in.
Yeah.
Tavares, you never really know what you're going to get with him. I wasn't really that scared about it. My scaredness was just about Vera having the tactics right. They outplayed us for first game. I thought we'd get a draw from this one, most likely.
Yeah.
Instead, we got our ass kicked 3-0, which I'm not too happy about.
Okay, so Gary, the first goal came at around about 16 minutes, but before the first goal was scored, how did you think that we were playing up until that point before we let a goal in?
All right, so I do have to step back a little bit before I talk about how we were playing before, because this whole excuse about Martinelli playing up in the sky and not being able to come back and play, I don't like that. Nah, that excuse, nah. I don't like that excuse at all for not playing him. Like you said,
where was his international games? Where did he play?
I think he played. Did they say Chile? I forgot who said they.
So there's a lot of time difference and stuff.
One was Brazil, and I think the other one was Chile or some place.
Yeah, so I think.
I don't think it's actually Chile. I can't remember where it was.
But I don't recall him starting, so I don't know if he played 90 minutes, and he didn't start. He didn't play 90 in the first game, so I know he didn't play a full. Didn't play 120 minutes, but 190 minutes, 180 minutes. But no, I thought he should have played.
What, ahead of Emil Smith-Rowe?
Yeah. He's a starter. He should play. That's what I believe that should have happened. Now, as far as the way the game started out, it's always a feeling out period in the game. All right, and this is the same thing. It looks like a feeling out period for both teams.
Bolivia is where the other one was.
What?
Bolivia.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, but like I said, I don't like that excuse why he didn't play. It might have been something else, but I just would have liked to, like Lolo said, you've got your set 11. If they're healthy, they play. If you have to make changes due to injury, try not to make many changes. I think.
But if you've got a player like Emil Smith-Rowe, and you've got Martinelli, who's been the other side of the world in Chile, time zone differences, the jet lag, and all of that, coming back, and you think he might be a little bit tired. Isn't that the time to rotate him out and put in someone who might be a little bit fresher, who might have done less travelling? And we all know that Emil Smith-Rowe can play. It's not like we're putting in. It's not like we're taking out Partey and putting in El Neni.
All right,
we're taking out Martinelli and putting in Emil Smith-Rowe, who there was some only about maybe 8 weeks ago that was saying that Emil Smith-Rowe should be starting ahead of Martinelli.
True. And if that's the thinking, right? If that's the thinking, and if Arsenal knows that, then two things. One, why is Tierney actually going away on international duty? Because my understanding is his knee injury was he had knee problems before he even left, and they were just managing that so that he could play. That's my understanding. That's what I saw
Because
a post
Scotland's
about
got to
that.
make it, man. They need him.
Well, weren't they
need him.
friendly?
Well, look,
Were
they might not make
friendly?
it now. They still have to play, and he's not most likely
Because
going
they
to
were
play in that
friendlies,
game.
right? They
Those
should
are
have left
friendlies.
him out
Those
of
weren't.
friendlies, saved him for the important one.
Yeah. So if he's got knee issues before, then you don't play him for 180 minutes. And if Arsenal knows
Yeah.
this, and I believe they did, if everything about this is true, he should have not either go or play 2 full games. Same
Bad game
thing. Same
management
thing
on
with
Scotland's
Partey. Partey
behalf.
came back and supposedly he I believe wasn't fit and ready to go. He was carrying and not coming in. So
we're gonna get into these
yeah,
injuries out
yeah.
in more detail because I
So-
want to ask you going forward how we're going to cope
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
But coming back into that first half, Lolo, before that first goal was scored on 16 minutes, how did you think that we were playing? Did you see any problems at that point before the goal? Because
Absolutely.
I didn't. I watched. I had to rewatch the game. Bloody hell, that wasn't. I had to set some time aside yesterday to watch some of it back again, and I watched the quite closely up until the first goal. We're away from home. The passes weren't being misplaced at that point. We looked quite secure. We were able to sometimes move the ball further up the pitch, which became a problem for me later on in the half. But up until the first goal, I thought that we were, like Gary said, it's a bit of a feeling out period, but I didn't have alarm bells ringing. How did you see it?
I was watching it, and it felt the beginning of the match. Yes, the passes were fine at that point, not like they got later, but it just ringing in my head was, this looks like Everton after we scored. This looks like Everton after we scored. This looks like Everton after we scored. Yes, we have a little possession. Yes, our passes are fine, but we're going to win. We're going to win. And it was, every attack that we had was half-assed, I felt. Every actual attack to that point. And I felt like they were all like, oh, we're going to have plenty of chances. Don't worry. Oh, bad. No, I probably could have got there, but I stopped running. It's okay. We'll have plenty more. That was the feeling. And so when the stupid set piece came about, I was like, this feels terrible. I know what's happening right here. And I think they mentioned Arsenal haven't given up a goal off a set piece or off of a corner. And I was like, shut up. Don't say that.
Yeah, I remember him saying that. And I thought, well, one, this is a free kick. It's not a corner.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? But
Yeah. I think because he did what I just did and was like, off a set piece, corners. And he's like, oh.
So what was your thoughts on that, on how that free kick came about, which resulted to the first goal? Because we're kind of getting a little bit now into individual performances, which is hard not to when you're talking about this particular game. It seems that obviously a lot of people are saying that Tavares seems to be, as they're saying, at fault for both goals. But when you look at that first goal in 16 minutes, what was your read on that?
You asking Tony or me?
No, I'm asking you.
Lolo. Asking me? Actually, can you run me through the sequence again, just to refresh my memory?
Well, for when I looked at what happened for me, it was Ben White. Ben White seemed to me it was out of the way. He was over in the right back's kind of area, almost got in the way of Cedric and caused a tumble with who was the person on that right side? It wasn't Zaha, was it? It was it AU? Jordan AU?
On that side was AU, yeah.
Yeah. Which resulted in the free kick.
Yeah. So it was a clumsy challenge, correct? That didn't need to happen, is what it seemed like. That was all what I was talking about of the, we're too lax, we're too relaxed right now, we're too confident without being like Liverpool confident, which Liverpool confident is, oh, we're going to score right away. Fuck you guys. We're more like, we'll have plenty of time. This will end up 1-0. Don't worry, guys. And so when we have a little mistake over there and people are a little bit caught out of position, there was a bit of a freak out. And anytime a free kick is given away like that, those are the ones where you're like, these end up in goals. Like they punish your stupid mistake generally. However, I was still confident at that point because it reminded me so much of the Huang goal against that Gabriel
Wang, yeah.
Wang, yeah, number Wang, where it was like, okay, that woke us up, and we got right back at it, even though it took a while. But because even the header, the goal, the free kick, was like, how did that even happen? That was just another little mistake on our. Of course, Nuno was pushed down in the back, which I hate screaming if that was Xhaka, but I mean, if that was Xhaka, he gets a penalty, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a foul in the box. Whatever. It was poor defending, and it was sloppy. It was sloppiness that led to the free kick. So it was a moment of crap, but at this point in the match, I was still hopeful. And I was like, okay, maybe we will just get a draw, but...
Okay. So, Tony, when a goal goes in, the automatic response is to find blame and point the finger and say, well, whose fault was that? If I was asking you to do that, looking at that first goal, who would you say would be the person to blame?
To me, the communication was kind of terrible the whole game because Gabrielle and Tierney, it seemed like they're the main ones that coordinate where the players are. But off the bat, I'd say it was Tavares and Gabrielle.
Yeah, to me,
Plus the midfield just wasn't where it should be.
To me,
Zarka
how it looks is that when that ball
Partey.
gets floated in, if Gabriel takes maybe just another half step, he heads it clear.
Yeah.
And I was reading that he's just recently had a baby, right? He's got a newborn baby in the house, so there's probably like a lot of bleary eyes and a lot of sleepless nights. When you look at that first goal, Gary, and you saw that, what was your initial thoughts? Because obviously we always try to find, well, who's at fault? Was there a mistake, or is there nothing we could have done about that one? What was your take?
Well, as Tony said, I think both players are to blame for that one. Like if Gabriel's going to try to attempt to make that, head that ball away, he's got to put it away, because once he didn't, he was out of position, and then anything that happened after that pretty much went through what I would consider his area on the pitch. So he has to clear that, or else because he's put himself out of position at that point. Tavares, I don't understand why he didn't stand up a little bit stronger at that point. He basically just seemed like he was going to go down to the ground, and if he is, then he should just sell it. He should have just sold it if he's going to go down like that, because once he put his head down like that, and then the offensive player gets a hand on him, he never gets back up. He might as well just go down and see if the official makes the call, because they're probably thinking it's just two players, jostling for space, and that happens. Contact in the box happens all the time. He didn't sell it, and he wasn't able to be strong enough to hold up against because Anderson, the only player to get he got assist, only player to get assist in the game, right? He plays center back. So I mean, that was a start of struggle there. But yeah, I think both players are to blame. At that, what I didn't like after that is it didn't seem like we learned. That to me, when we talked about what Gabriel did afterwards, Ramsdale stepped in and was like, basically, slapped him around a little bit and said, let's get back into this game. That did not happen to Tavares or Gabriel. So at that point, you're off when everybody's on their own, and we're not playing as 11 at that point. And that's what the game looked like probably afterwards, right?
I watched it back, and that part with the goal, I watched it a few times and looked at the angles that they showed. And how I see it is that when that ball comes in, yeah, if Gabriel takes another half step, he probably does head that clear. But watching it back, the commentator says that they said that Tavares could have done more. And what I saw was a Crystal Palace player with both hands on the back of Tavares' neck. And it looked to me that as the ball was coming in, Tavares was kind of stooping down, maybe to try and make a header. And just as he made that stoop, there's two hands on the back of his neck, which pushes him down. Now, that's just my interpretation of watching it. And I watched it back a few times. And I just don't think that there's, any more that Tavares could have done. And I actually think that the whole goal could have been avoided if Ben White doesn't sort of like go drifting out of space and cause the foul in the first place. So I find it a little bit harsh that Tavares is getting, beaten over the brow for that one. Does anyone else want to?
Yeah, no, he definitely is. Okay, he definitely is not to blame, and everybody's going to say, he was part of it, but he's got starters next to him who need to be able to hold up better, and they did not. The center backs, to me, were the cause for a lot of what was going on wrong with this team, and at least in those first two goals. So, like you said, White starts it with the giving away a free kick, and then Gabriel, I think, needs to be better at clearing that ball. Nuno, if he was going to try to head it, he's heading the ball basically at his waist. The ball hit Anderson in the shoulder. That's how. And so, if he was trying to head it, he was doing a really poor job at it. You know what I mean? I think he hesitated when he saw Gabriel go up for the header. I think that's what happened, and that's why he went. He kind of like, oh, my guy's got it, and guess what? He didn't got it. He ain't got it, and so I think that's where the communication. You expect if their center back's going to come in for that. Guess what? I better, maybe I need. I won't even go up for it, and that's I think what happened there. So Gabriel's got to clear that, in my eyes, and he did not. Like you said, there was nobody. It wasn't like he had to rush to get in there to clear that either. I think he had nobody to guard at that point because the ball was coming in pretty far away from it was only the 2 against 1 at that point, right? So I think so that's where I think the problem is. But like I said, all three White. I mean, we've seen this before, right? Where the game's slow, free kick, boom, 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 game over, right? We saw that in the Liverpool game, right, from one of our leaders. White at this point would be considered probably one of the leaders in the back line for sure, and he didn't need to make the play to create the free kick in the first place. I mean, he left his feet for what reason I'm not sure, and then basically landed on the player, and that's when the free kick happened. So, yeah, it was a total team meltdown at that point for me, and I don't think we mentally recovered from it, and somebody needs to slap these guys around and say, look, that's not gonna, one, it's not gonna happen again, and 2, we got this. All right. I don't know if you saw when you watched the replay, if you saw anybody come to Tavares or go to Gabriel or get the back line together and say, look, let's do this. You know what I mean? I don't think that happened in this game. And, another road game at night. We struggle, right? Like I said, it's looked like the Brentford game all over again in terms of the way that we played. And we're not that bad. We're not 3-0 to Crystal Palace, even without Tierney. I think we still have a decent team to be able to get something out of the game. But yeah, I think you can give it to all three. All three contributed.
So are you saying Cedric was our best defender? That's a problem, right?
Well, yes, I don't believe those center backs were helping us in that game. No. I don't believe they were. Yeah.
So something that Gary said about that goal that really sort of epitomizes the match for me is exactly that. After the goal, there wasn't the usual Ramsdale screaming at somebody. There wasn't Gabriel screaming at somebody. It was kind of embarrassment on everybody's part, which to me shows me that each one of those people felt like they were out of position a little bit enough too, that like Ramsdale can't yell at anybody because he didn't really defend it that well. Nuno can't yell at it. Gabriel can't. And so they all just kind of walked away. And then the rest of the game ensued that way with a lack of leadership. I think you're totally right.
Was
Gary.
it that goal or the second goal? I think 'cause I'm trying to remember when I watched it back, where after the goal went in, the camera goes to Gabriel and he's pointing to his ear as if to say, "I thought I got a shout," which is why I left it. I'm sure that might have been the first goal. The camera, I can't remember if it's the first one or the second one, but he definitely on one of the goals, you see Gabriel pointing to his ear as if to, he was either saying, "I didn't get the shout," or "I thought I heard a shout." So I thought so. You know what I mean? I just want to bring in Rohan. How you doing, Rohan? Thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm good, mate. Nice to be here.
Hello,
What have
Rohan.
you been up to since we last seen you? Keeping well?
Yeah, all good, all good. Keeping up with the Arsenal, and we've been winning, so I haven't been trying to disturb anything, which includes me podding, and we've lost, and I'm back, but not to stew any negativity, but to sort of look forward to the next one.
So we've kind of got up to the point of the first goal in 16 minutes, but I was interested to find out from yourself that before a ball was kicked and you saw the starting lineup, tell us a little bit about your thoughts when you saw the starting lineup, whether you had any concerns at that point, what you saw during the first half, and let us know as well about that first goal. If you had to point the finger at blame at someone for that first goal, who would you be pointing it at?
See, when I looked at the lineup, I didn't see that much of a massive concern. Katie is obviously a big loss. He's a big part of the team, but now our team has developed from being only a left-sided team, which was used to attack only from the left side, to being more right-sided. In fact, with Saka and and Cedric as well, playing the way they are, with Odegaard moving to the right as well and creating that space and Saka cutting in. So to me, I thought that we were, that we should have gone in and won. But Palace is
Just out of interest, before the game, what did you think the result was going to be? What did you have
see?
it down at?
I am that fan who's never like totally optimistic about, like, there are no easy games, but I also believe in our team, so I expect us to still win. It's somewhere in the middle. I thought that there was going to be revenge from the fact that we were totally outplayed at the Emirates before that, and we just barely scraped the equalizer in the last seconds, right? And Arteta was outclassed by Vieira and the team that he had put out and the style that they were playing with at that time. So I thought that this time, Arteta is going to have a response to it. But unfortunately, they just came flying out of the blocks, and we were a little bit, defensive, little bit taken by surprise with the level of energy that was there. But I thought that it was still going to suit us with us, going against them when they're taking the prerogative to go ahead and score something. But that obviously did not happen. The pressure was a lot, and like it's been said, right? I think everybody was a little bit at fault. Tavares was coming in. I know that he's taken flack for not playing well, and it's been unfortunate that the last few times that he's played, it almost feels like whenever he makes a mistake, it leads to a goal. It's almost like he's like a goalkeeper, who makes a mistake and then there's a goal. But I was okay to see him because he's an attacking fullback. I like what I see, but clearly Tierney is on another level right now. So I don't think that there's one individual to blame. All in all, our defense and midfield didn't do enough for any of the goals, any of the 2 goals, and then the third one was unfortunate.
So the first goal, what was your thoughts on that?
No, I agree.
Because Tavares has taken a lot of flack basically for the first half.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that with somebody like with Tavares, he's only played something. Let me just check my notes here. He's played something like 31 top level games in his whole career, and 24 of those were with Benfica. So, and it wasn't so long ago that I remember being on this podcast when Kieran Tierney was out injured and Tavares was playing a few games, and when Keane was back, there were people that were saying on this channel that we should still be starting Tavares ahead of Kieran Tierney. But I want to focus on Tavares in a little bit more detail coming up in a bit. But looking at that first goal, Rohan, which started really with Ben White for me, coming way out of position into the right back zone and almost kind of clattering into Cedric and the Crystal Palace. I think it was Jordan Ayew. What was your thoughts?
No, yeah, and again, a day off for our centre backs, a day off for our defense and midfield in general. But they were taken aback by the level of pressing that was going on, and I was one of those people who was advocating Tavares at that time that you're talking about, because that time you've also got to remember that KT wasn't in form, right? He used to, make those straight runs as if he was on FIFA, and not have any end product when he was crossing it in. So, and Tavares was a revelation at that point. And in fact, he played quite well in a couple of games that he had played. And then obviously Liverpool happened. And then he was sort of dropped after that, rightfully so. And KT coming back with full force. And then now again, you can't expect anything much. But I know you want to dissect that goal of what's happening, but it's difficult for me to place one person to be at blame because they were out of position. It was just a culmination of our whole defense not being at it and us conceding because of that.
Okay. So I've got a question here for Lolo. Thunder Road wants to know, are you Puerto Rican?
I actually answered. I responded back, and I said, no, I'm Mexican, Irish, Scottish, German, and probably more. Add them all up, and equals American. And I'm from Texas originally.
Yeah, you're Heinz 57 like me.
So I'm also Texan. You got to add that in there because that should be its own.
But you are in Brooklyn.
But now, yeah, I'm in Brooklyn now. I've lived in a lot of different places, though.
So, Lolo, in between the goals just gone in. Are you worried from what you're starting to see?
Absolutely, absolutely. I started worrying because right away I was like, okay, let's get this back, let's get it back, and the passes just started to miss, and I wasn't sure if it was somebody not in position and a blind pass goes to where they should be and they're not there, or it was just a poor pass. So at that point, I did start to get worried. And it was only like, 8 minutes between the goals, wasn't it?
Yeah,
something like that?
I think it was first goal was on 16 minutes and the second one was on 24 minutes.
Yeah, 24. So that's just what started to get into my mind of like, okay, now we're getting sloppy. Now things are getting very sloppy. Passes are missing. People aren't hitting the long balls. The creativity wasn't there. And the big thing was the vibe. It's all about vibe. And I'm right there with what Gary was saying about there didn't seem to be that team swagger that we've had in some of these matches, that we're starting to be like, all right, boys, a little back heel, some flicks, and really seeing each other and being like, you can see the communication going on without even talking. You can see them nodding and pointing in that, and it just looked like after the goal went in and everybody just kind of walked away, you saw more individuals than a team. And so I was like, we need to have a goal. We need to have a goal. We need to have the next goal, or else this is going to be bad. And we didn't get the goal.
See, for me, Gary, I'm looking at a team that once that first goal goes in, I start seeing a team that we could only seem to pass it around in our own third. And when we start doing that, it for me, I don't understand, why do you want to keep putting pressure on each other? And every time we try to play the ball any further upfield, the passes now, they're starting to get snuffed out, misplaced passes, etc. Where are you on that? And then leading up to that second goal, if we want to go through that as well.
Yeah, so immediately after the goal goes in, I'm like, all right, well, that sucked. But then I'm thinking, you know what? All right, we still got what, like you said, we still got still got 75 minutes. 75 minutes left in this game. 75 minutes to correct it.
So you think that's plenty of
what
damage
happened, right?
control, right?
So yeah, that's what we've been here before, right? We've done actually worse, right? Gabriel basically made a really nice pass to the attacker from Wolves.
Bang.
So we've seen this before. Easy. Easy. We've seen it before. Let's just rub off the dust and get back up and let's play. But like you said, I have the game going right now, and basically, like you said, after that goal goes in, it was just ping, ping, ball just pinging around on the field. We make long passes. There's nobody there. Nobody even making the run. I mean, whenever they decide they're going to attack us, boom, we're in trouble. They put some pressure on us. They're down the sidelines and ready to go. Us, it's a chore to get the ball across midfield, right? Nah. So it I didn't, when I was watching, I didn't really notice that as much, but you watch the replay and you're like, this game is not going. This team doesn't look like they want to score again. They don't look like they don't want to draw this game. Let's tie this thing up and get back into it. They've got what looks like 15 players on the pitch. Every time we got a ball, they've got like 3 or 4 players around it, and then boom, they get the ball, and then they get they move on. Didn't look right, and the head's not right in the game. So yeah, it was essentially bound to happen that they would get another goal the way we were playing, because they looked like the only ones that actually wanted to do it at that point and had a plan to do it against the defense in front of them. And I think, they essentially were going to pick on Nuno, because that would make sense. You pick the weakest link, and we didn't have who were we going to go to? We didn't have anybody at that point like a Martinelli, for example, who could just take the ball and maybe do something with it. We didn't have that. We needed to work the ball up the pitch, and we just weren't clean getting the ball to the right people where they actually had an opportunity to make a move. Our first touches were just terrible in the game, and that's what you saw in that up until the next goal. Because anytime we got the ball, 2-3 passes, and then boom, it's gone. No control of the game at that point. So yeah, I expected us to be able to draw, but the way they were playing, it didn't look like they thought they could.
So Rohan, I'm looking at that second goal, and the ball comes in, and they were trying to work it into that half space between Gabriel and Tavares, and Jordan Ayew manages to get through, and I see Gabriel going to ground, and he's way off. He's never going to make that tackle, and then Tavares has a lot of ground to cover. But because Tavares is the one that's hooked, which comes up at halftime, he's the one that's perceived to have the shocker. When there's a lot of players out there that are having shockers for me anyway. So what did you make of that second goal?
No, the ball was fizzed in, right? And the judgment call was wrong by the centre back to go and try to intercept it. We could have just stood our ground, and he wouldn't have had that half space to cut into. But going to intercept that ball just allowed that bit of space. And then what a strike from outside the box, right? So it was, again, incisive passing by them, because you don't often see a pass fizzed in at that pace on that angle unless it's like Kevin De Bruyne doing that, right? Like they were on it one day. And again, it was a judgment call. These are the small things that decide matches, right? We've been on a run, we've been doing well, but this is not something that we do. We try to break up teams with slower progression and slower, shorter passing. And we've been successful in doing that. But, once you go 2-0 down and you try to do that against a well-drilled team, it's not going to happen. So that's essentially what happened after.
Tony, I suppose what I'm really trying to get to here is that now that we're 2-0 down, and I'm looking on social media at this point, basically Tavares is now the Antichrist from what I'm seeing. He's basically like Damien out of The Omen. And I'm seeing people saying things like it's time for Tavares to come off. Arteta should be taking him off and saving him from himself. Where are you on this? Let's talk about Nuno Tavares, his performance. What does it mean of him being taken off at at half time, remembering as well that this is a player, I think it was in the Nottingham Forest game, he was taken off just before half time, right? Was it something? Was it even before
like
the
36
30th minute?
minutes.
36
Yeah, like 30
minutes?
minutes in.
So, I mean, basically, he's like the Walking Dead from what I can see on my Twitter line. Where were you on this, Tony, when you saw all of this happening? Because don't get me wrong, you know what it's like when you're watching the game live and you see the goals go in, and you know, and you hear what the commentators are saying, and that you shout out a name, and I was like, before I watched this game back, I was thinking at the time, God, take Tavares off, because it's in your mind, right? You know that he's been hooked before, he's got previous, you know, some of the things that the commentators were saying. But to be fair, watching that game back, there was anyone out there that could have been substituted, to be fair. And Mikel Arteta said when he was asked about it, he said it was a tactical change. And I've listened to a few podcasts since that, and they have all said, I'm not buying it. He's just protecting the player. What do you think, Tony? Tactical change, or
I think he was
dreadful?
I don't think he was that dreadful. Like I said, I think the communication was lacking in the midfield and in the back four. I think Zaka playing as a 8 or 10 or whatever kind of hurts you on the left side. I'd rather seen Smith Rowe be the left midfielder and Martinelli as a left winger, but that didn't happen. But I think since he's been hooked before halftime, kind of pressures on him. It's easy to make a scapegoat out of him. But all in all, he wasn't great, but he wasn't as bad as fans made him out to look like. I think Arteta just trying to save a player. Didn't think he was doing enough. But I think the main problem was the communication out there.
What do you think, Lolo? Was it an absolute nightmare, or was it a tactical change like Mikel said?
Yeah, how on earth can anyone say it's not a tactical decision? If it's not tactical, if it's player performance, then a left back comes out for another left back, or a center back, or a defender. Not Gabriel fucking Martinelli. Are you kidding me? 100% tactical. He's like, we're losing by 2. All our defenders suck, but we can't get rid of our center back for Martinelli. So, hey, Nuno, sorry, pal. I know everybody's shit, but we got to score a fucking goal. Like, we can give up more goals. That's fine, but we got to score some, too. It's not tactical. Shut up. Sorry. I told you I'm watching Punisher, man. I get angry.
So what's your thoughts on the Nuno Tavares, situation? And I suppose where I'm moving with this, we've got another game coming up at Brighton. Would you continue with him, or would you rip up everything that we've done thus far and change everything around just to accommodate that left back position?
Guys, how acting like a bunch of spoiled brats, these Arsenal fans a lot of times. Listen, the fact that we have a player of the caliber of Nuno Tavares, that we know what he can do, we've seen what he can do. He flies up and down the pitch. He can cross. He can shoot. He can shoot with both feet. His defending is okay, but I mean he's a modern day left back. The fact that we have him sitting on our bench, and the fact that we're complaining that this guy who hasn't played in weeks and was told moments before the match, an hour before the match, that he was going to play because Tierney was going to play, and then all of a sudden he's injured. The fact that we expected him to be perfect means he's a really good player. So relax the cocks. Who else are we going to put in there, by the way? But no, he's fantastic. He had a bad game, but I don't think Nuno Tavares was the worst defender on our side, and I don't even think he was the worst player. Anywhere. Everyone was bad. We just had a day where everyone decided to be off. So, yeah, you're going to lose 3-0 to Crystal Palace. Sorry, I don't even know. What did you ask me? I'm doing all right. How are you?
No, bang on. And Rohan.
Chill out. Yes, start Nuno. He will be better than he was last week. Yes. Done. Mute.
Yeah, start Nuno, yes, but I wouldn't be completely opposed to a change in formation, and that's not to
Oh,
say, yeah, because and we do that to close out games. We bring Holding on, who signals that we're going five at the back and all of that. Like, I think it's not just Nuno who's gone out, which
okay. Let me ask you.
who's-
Okay, you mentioned a formation change. Okay, how would you set us up then for Brighton?
I would I would play three centre backs. I would play three at the back.
Who?
I'd play Nuno. It's going to be White, Gabriel, and Holding,
Yeah.
the three who come in. Nuno still plays in wing back because I think that's right now for him. It's better suited to play wing back because he's more attacking. And I'm not just keeping in mind Brighton, right? We've got a couple of, all of these games are like finals, right? But we've got to prepare ourselves for the Chelsea game and then for the North London derby. Because for me now, the North London derby almost seems like it's going to be a shootout to who's going to be fourth.
So if you're going to play with three at the back, that means that someone is going to have to be taken out of the team. Who's making way for Rob Holding?
Who's making row for? It's also because this guy is injured, right? Partey is injured. So I was getting to that. It's not just because we have Tavares that we have to change the formation, or KT has gone out, that's why we have to change the formation. It's also because we've lost that presence in midfield with Partey, right? Who was now beginning to show what a player he is and what we've signed from Atletico, but he's gone. He was the one who was sitting behind and Xhaka was going forward, right? But he's gone. He's not there to sweep the defense and to protect the defense, etc. So you need that, right? So you need that protection, that extra level of protection which the third center back is going to give you. You still play Tavares, and you play Saka, you play Cedric on the other side. You play two more in midfield, Xhaka and Lokonga. That's 3-4, and you've got three up top: Lacazette, Martinelli, and Saka. That's what I would play, and that's important because we need that defensive stability. As you have seen, once you're 2-0 down, it's very difficult to. We're still not at that level, right, where we can break teams down. We have been doing that, but a lot of our game is also on the counter attack, which if we don't get that opportunity, if we are 2-0 down, we will not get that opportunity, right? So Brighton is a good time to test that three at the back scenario. And I know that it almost seems like, hey, we can't go two steps back again. It seems like it's two steps back. We have a settled formation now. We play the way we play, and that sort of arrogance that we are the Arsenal and we are back. And then one defeat later, you want to tear up the formation. I don't completely agree with that. You've got to be tactically flexible, right? You've two players who are in form, KT and Partey, both have gone out. You have to react to that.
So Gary, basically Rohan's saying that he's looking at a change of formation and going with three, or if you want to call it five at the back. Me personally, because of the personnel that we're missing in Thomas Partey and Kieran Tierney, I would advocate going back to a double pivot, but we would still keep four at the back. And I would personally continue with Tavares and give him another go. I just think that if we took Tavares out of the way now, when he's there and able to play, then I think that we probably lose him as a player. It makes things uncomfortable for him going forward. So with Partey gone, I would probably look at bringing in Sambi Lokonga. I mean, Edu said to us when he made the transfer, that if either Partey or Xhaka are out or missing or they can't play because of cards, it's Sambi Lokonga is the one that comes in. So I'd keep four at the back and have a double pivot with Lokonga and Xhaka. Obviously, we don't want Xhaka in a single pivot on his own because that's danger signs. And I'm not sure whether Sambi's ready for that. What would you do? Do you like what Rohan suggested with going 3/5 at the back, double pivot like I've suggested, or do you have something completely different?
Yeah, my initial thought has always been 3 at the back, but we don't have depth. I mean, we don't have depth. You put 3 center backs. Who's going to come in if you need to fix it? You're going to have to go back to a 4 if one of them gets hurt,
Good point.
right? I
That's a
mean,
good
so
point.
that was initially my thought, and then when I said it, somebody said, "What about we're not going to have depth?" And this always comes back to once again that January window where, all right, you're going to deplete your team, right? You're going to send out Chambers, you're going to send out Maitland-Niles, who are versatile players that can play multiple positions, defensive or midfield if you need, and you replace them with nothing. So your margins are tight. Once again, everything has to be perfect. Like anybody who's heard me, you have to be perfect now for the rest of the season. No injuries, no COVID, no suspensions. We've experienced both injuries and COVID. Now you're saying, all right, so here we go. So now we're going to put Xhaka as our lead player in the midfield. And people know that he's not Partey. And I think if you put too much on his shoulders, you're going to see a meltdown. And then we're going to get that suspension. We'll get the trifecta in terms of trying to be perfect from here on out. As much as he's a leader, I don't think he's a leader on the pitch during game time. Maybe in practice, but during game time, he's not Lacazette. He's not going to calm anybody down for the right reasons, right? He's not going to calm them down like we've seen Lacazette do. So I kind of feel like we're in a pickle, as they say.
Putting it subtly.
Yeah, we got some issues. And when Tavares came off that pitch, what did Arteta tell him? Did he tell him it's a tactical change? I need to score goals. I need to pick somebody. You're just into the squad. I've got 3 players that have been playing for a while, and that's why I left them in. Don't worry, you're back in next week when we go to a 4 at the back. Is that what he said? Who knows? Who knows what he said? I can't remember what he said in the after game. In the
he said it was
game.
He was asked about it.
Yeah,
they focused on that, and he was very forthright in saying that it was purely a tactical change.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then we have to believe him. We'll find out, because if we go for it at the back and he's not there, which I would find that kind of strange if we do that, because who are we going to put in? But if we should go for it at the back, because that's what we play. And that's why you brought them in, right? You brought them in to sit behind starters. They've sat behind them. I assume he's got confidence in them, because he brought them in.
Yeah.
It can't be, I don't have confidence in you, and you can't just play a player, Nottingham Forest and then Crystal Palace, and then that's all they get. Nah, that's not going to work. Your players aren't going to play for you if you're going to set them up. You're just setting them up to fail. For me, he needs to play.
Let me just check with everybody here. Is there anyone here that does not think Tavares should be starting?
Even in my formation, he was starting. I think it's a better suited role for him.
Yep.
I think what BX Gunner said, I agree with one comment of his, but don't agree with the other. One is that I don't trust a back 4 without Partey protecting it against United, Chelsea, West Ham, Tottenham. That's 4 out of our 5. Almost 50% of our matches are those matches. This is the time we get our trial run, right? You can make mistakes. If it doesn't work, you at least get to know. Right now, Brighton aren't the toughest test on paper, and they aren't scoring too many goals, so we can see how that goes and then decide. But a back 4 would, without Partey protecting it, with Nuno on at left back defensively, would make me very nervous. So that's the thing. But I don't agree with moving Saka to left back, because that's just cutting your nose to spite your face sort of a situation, right? Like Lacazette doesn't score goals, right? Like he's a false 8.
Aren't we at a situation like we were last time now?
The people who are going to score goals are wide players. So you don't take out our best player and then make two places worse.
Go on, Gary. You were saying?
I was going to say, aren't we, when we're close to that that level where we're going to have to just make a decision similar to that, right? If Tavares, for example, comes in and plays against Brighton and still can't get his head right, at some point you're going to have to make that decision that, what, I'm going to have to get my best players and put them in positions that will weaken the team in certain areas, but you might have to just do that. We have to get 3 points out of the next 6 points out of the next 2 games. We have to. I just don't think he has a choice. If he doesn't get 6 points out of the next 2, I think, the goal should be top 4, and he should be trying to do that. These are 2 winnable games. These are 2 games that we should be able to handle with the players we got right now. This is the best opportunity we have for 6 points and, 2 wins in a row for the rest of the season. So, yeah, I hear you on that one, but I kind of feel like whatever he does, it has to be to build on to the next one. If Tavares comes in and he shakes off all the cobwebs and all the issues that he had, you continue with that because that's why you brought him in, right? If it doesn't work out, and you're gonna have to just you're gonna have to push, like you say, you might have to push Saka back. Now you're gonna have all your best players on the pitch to start. That's an issue. It's not really an issue. It just means you don't have depth. But we don't have depth now. Look at our bench. Do you know half the players there? I mean, every time we look, there's another player on there we've never heard before who's on the bench for us. We just don't have
young babies on the bench.
But Gary, that ship has sailed. Now, just because we've lost one, now we can't go back and talk about the January transfer window.
But it answers the question as what to do next. So
what to do next is just make do with whatever you have and try hope for the best till the summer window. That was the plan, right? We are not going to. I think I agree with the fact that we should not overpay for players that we are not convinced with. Do I agree? Everybody knows my allegiances towards Aubameyang, etc. Do I agree that we should have been left short? No, but am I going to become Piers Morgan all of a sudden and start going ham on Arteta because we've lost one game? No, like it was mutually beneficial for both parties. It's fine. It's done. Now we fall on this ward, and I don't think that it's Arteta to blame. If anything, it's the board and Edu who couldn't get the job done. But this is where we are. I'm not going to look back.
Yeah. Yeah. No. The reason why I point to the bench is because that's the only options you have. So then you have to do things to try to get the best out of what you have. Which for me, if we're trying to get points, at some point you might have to just assume that you don't have a bench and you guys might have to play 90 minutes. You know what I mean? That's where we're at some point now because we don't. We're gonna have some of our better players sitting on the bench watching us struggle, and I don't like that idea either. You know what I mean?
It's fine for me. Like we've got 9 finals left to play. It's only a couple of times from now until the end of the season that we play midweek as well. Yeah. So it's not that big a.
If you call it a final, you do everything you can to win. That you do everything you can to win if it's a final, right? You have a week to recover in most games, so you play your best 11 players, not your best 11 squad, because we don't have that now, right? If Tavares isn't going to work, so Cedric starts to break down, we're going to have to put our best 11 players on the pitch. Not our best team of 11, maybe our best players because they are versatile. We know if in a pinch, Saka can play pretty much anywhere we put him on the field,
what, left back is not my biggest concern also. Worst case situation, let's say next game, I am pretty sure if we go for a back 4, Tavares plays, I like that player. So I think that he's going to do well because I'm an optimist and I want Arsenal players to do well, right? I go in with the feeling as an FPL manager, I have Lacazette and who hasn't scored in 17 games, and I'm thinking he's going to score a brace today. With no logic or nothing to back it up, just pure feeling that my team is going to do well today. White is going to get a clean sheet for me. Saka is going to score a banger, and Lacazette, my differential, is going to get me 2 goals. But that doesn't happen, right? But I have a feeling that Tavares is going to do well. But let's say that he doesn't do well in the unlikely situation or whatever, in this situation that he does, left back is not my biggest problem, because worst case situation, if we have to persist with a 4, we move Cedric to left back, we put Rob Holding at right back. We have done that before. He has played that. We lose something at right back, it's fine. I would in no case move Saka to left back. That's not going to happen, right? We can stick with that. But then, do I trust Lokonga or Xhaka to do that Partey role? No, I don't. That is where the main problem lies for me.
How are you? I was
going to say the combination of Sambi and Gabriel did not work. The left back was an issue. If that's Tierney, you don't see that kind of communication gap that we saw. We don't see Tierney kind of buckle down on a cross coming in. And does Gabriel take that risk down a goal to go after that ball?
They have not played enough together.
But Gabriel made maneuvers that I don't think he makes if Tierney's there. And he takes a risk, I believe, on that second goal that wasn't warranted at the point. In the game, you're down 1 on the road. Why take that risk at all?
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Remember that this is a guy that's got a newborn baby, tired nights and so forth. Anyway, Rohan, I'm conscious you mentioned that you wanted to be away at 6:45. How are you for time? You all right?
I can go for another 5.
All right.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask Tony a quick question now. What was your thoughts on the, how would you set up going against Brighton? Are you keeping it in the same formation and keeping Tavares in there, going to a double pivot? What are you doing?
I would actually keep a single pivot. I believe in Tavares and Sambi. We're playing Brighton. We're not playing a super team. To see how these players.
You bring in Sambi Lokonga for Thomas Partey and put him in the midfield with Xhaka over El Neni?
Well, if I was to do 2 back there, I do Sambi and El Neni. But single, I just do Sambi back there. And I'd replace Xhaka with Smith Rowe on the left midfield.
Okay, well, I've got you for a few more minutes then, Rohan. How do you feel about the injuries at the moment? Kieran Tiernan is going to be out now for the rest of the season. Thomas Partey, it sounds like he's going to be out for 2, maybe 3 matches or so. It doesn't seem like he's going to just be out for 1 match. I mean, a lot of people were saying that we got 4th in our grasp, and I've always felt that we were only a couple of injuries or 1 injury and maybe a booking away from messing that up. What's your thoughts now that we're looking at a long-term injury in Tierney and Thomas Partey, who's our main engine, being out for a couple of matches?
It's a bummer. I'm shitting bricks. How else am I supposed to feel? I mean,
he's ecstatic, Stan.
These are
no. What I want to know is, I mean, you're looking at this now. Are you holding grudges because we've got other players out on loan? Do you know what I mean? Are you standing by the decisions that are made?
We
have to have what we hold.
Stan, we are in April now. The window closed on January 31st, right? We have played 2 months. We have played 2 months well, right? Out of the last, 10, we've won like 8 of them, something like that, right? We only lost against Liverpool, and then now we've lost against Crystal Palace.
Who do you think that bad performance was down to at Crystal Palace, right? Because it was a bad performance compared to what we've seen over the last.
You have off nights. You've got to remember that Crystal Palace have done a double on Manchester City, right? They have a tendency of doing upsets against top 6 sides. It does happen. Like I don't understand. See, first of all, nobody gave us this thing. Like in the beginning of the season, I said that a successful season for me will be 4th or a close 5th, right? Just because we had put ourselves in a position that we should get 4th. Now I wouldn't say that, hey, just because I get a close 5th, if we lose out by like 2 or 3 points, that the season was shit. No, it's not. We've put ourselves in that position. We've gone on an amazing run. We've done amazingly well. And just because Spurs have picked up form now, and we've lost one match. There's no reason to overreact. Let's see how we play in the next game. Why should we overreact? If we had won this game, then the narrative would have still been that, hey, Arsenal are still odds-on favorite to win it. At the end of it, it's about the North London derby. It's going to be difficult. We have to go to the shithole and win or draw, whatever might be the situation then. But it's fine. We're going to play United at the Emirates. We have to go Chelsea away, but they are not in great form themselves. We've got Brighton and Southampton. Pick up 6 points. At least that's going to give us some momentum. These are things that will help us grow. And we are where we are. We've made our bed. Right now this is what it is. We risked it. I said it already when it was in January that Champions League qualification may come down to this, us not recruiting enough, our squad depth, but that was already said in January, and then we played amazingly. So I'm not going to now just all of a sudden moan because we've lost one match.
Just before you go as well, overall, what are your feelings at the moment with Mikel Arteta as Arsenal manager? What's your feeling on him?
At the moment, I'm happy.
Yeah.
The team is playing well. Why should
have you set a target for him for this season?
I said he has to get 4th or a close 5th. I will understand. Spurs is doing well because they have Harry Kane, right? We don't have a Harry Kane. He's struggling with Lacazette. He identified a replacement, we couldn't get it. Was it naive that we just went after one replacement and spent the whole window just doing that? Yes. But is it completely down to Mikel Arteta? I don't think it's down to him at all. It's down to Edu, etc. Right? So it's fine. When you have such a bulk clear up, these things are bound to happen. Would it be a bummer that we aren't in the Champions League when it seemed like we should have been? Yeah, but I think like after Liverpool, the next big test was Aston Villa, and we passed that test. Then we had now we had our last game, Crystal Palace. We lost it. It's fine. Let's see. Do you think that Spurs are going to win all of their matches? Their 8 matches that they have. We still have a game in hand with them. Why are we pretending like we don't? I mean, if we have to support the team, I support the team. I support Mikel Arteta. I don't agree with giving him a new contract before the season ends.
So then let me ask you then, if he doesn't reach the targets that you've set, that you just mentioned, and he fails to reach those, then what do you do in that position? Do you continue or do you make a change because he's not reached his goals?
It depends on how badly we capitulate, right? If we do. But I believe in this team. I think that we have got a strong core. We've got a group of young players. Striker is a big loss for us in terms of a player not scoring goals. He contributes in other ways, but we need, and even in this game, let's not forget we had 2 or 3 glorious chances, right? That Odegaard chance that he had when he cut in, that if that went in, it could have been different. There was that Smith Rowe chance, which was just like under his feet, right? Which he could have maneuvered. That the fine margins can change the game. It's not over yet. This is one defeat that I'm not saying like Liverpool is generally a write-off for most teams, right? So don't count that. But other than that, we've been winning the games that we should be winning, and there's no reason to overreact. Let's be calm. Let's try to respond and not react, and we'll see where we are. The most important thing is the next game. And for me, if we have 6 points in the next 2 games, then we can really attack that list of 4 games that we have, the difficult ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lolo,
bounce.
You off?
Yeah.
Nice to have had you. Thanks for coming in and having a chat with us, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you so much. Nice seeing you guys. Yeah. Take care.
Cheers, Rohan.
Bye-bye.
So, Lolo, I think that's probably enough about Tavares, but let's look at the rest of the team. I mean, why, in your opinion, why did you think everybody took a day off? Is this one of the is this the fallout of having the youngest team in the Premier League, or is this a lack of leadership, or does this just happen? What's your thinking on why everybody has such a terrible game? Funny enough, I actually think that probably one of our best players on the day for me was probably Cedric. And what I mean by that is he seemed to be the only one that was really competent and doing his job efficiently. So what's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And on that Cedric note, you even saw Odegaard at one point in the match, like who's been our creative guy. He's been creating. He's got the creativity to him. At points, being like, I don't know, Cedric, what do you think? And like giving him the ball, and Cedric's like, well, cross it in the fucking, just cross it. So yeah, I agree. Cedric was good. Listen, this is one of those where you always know the good teams on any good team. Any one of the players is allowed to have a bad day because everyone else is so good. And even 2 players, 3 players, look back to Man City against us. Most of them were bad for most of the game, and they still found a way to win. I feel like we're getting there, where we can have not so great games from one player, but the rest of us step it up or pick them up. And this was just one where everyone did it on one day. So I'm hoping what they were saying was, listen, we got a lot of big games ahead. We can only afford to lose one. So why don't we do it against Crystal Palace? We'll all be shit. We'll all get the shit out of the way. It's like when I'm warming up to play pool and, taking my warm-up shots, miss them all. And I'm like, yeah, just getting these out of the way. Just getting these out of the way. So maybe that's what hopefully, fingers crossed, that's what they were doing. Because it's baffling that so many players that are talented, I mean, they play for Arsenal in the Premier League. They're talented. They were all so bad at the same time. And it was shocking to see. So if I have to blame it on something, I'm going to say their mothers and wives for making them home cooking the past 2 weeks, for them getting home cooking and probably eating really well and having a good time. They came back a little soft, I would say. Yeah. Too much love at home, probably.
Gary, yeah, another game where we
stands like enough of that nonsense.
we didn't really get anything from our striker today. Again, lack of threat. Alexander, lack of threat. I mean, he's had a lot of plaudits about other things that he's been able to contribute in the game, but I didn't even see any of that in this game. And he had a really rough game, I thought, as well for Aston Villa. Is it time to make a change in that position? Can we afford to make a change in that position? I mean, what's your thoughts going forward on our forward position now?
This is a change that should have happened. Not necessarily a change that should have happened. This is a thought process that should have been in place a long time ago. Lacazette hasn't been scoring for us in years, so it's not going to change now when there's even more pressure put on him, more responsibilities put on him. The fact that there is nobody behind him that really is going to supplant him or actually come in and do a job. So lots of pressure, but he's handling, I would say, 80% of what needs to be done that the team needs. The 20% in terms of scoring, no, can't do it. If we're going to do it, this is the game to do it. This is, not necessarily. This is one of the easiest games on our list of games. I'm not counting the Everton game because that's at the end. But like right now, to figure out whether or not we have an answer, this is the easiest game because it's at home. It's after the last loss. Even if we struggled and it doesn't work, he can always bring, for example, Lacazette in if he doesn't start him. Because Lacazette's done that before and helped us out when we needed it. This is probably the best time to do it. Personally, it should have been something that's part of just our makeup, part of the way that the team is set up, that we would have an answer in terms of scoring goals from the central forward position. And we shouldn't be trying to figure it out now. We should already know, and we should have already seen it. I believe we should have already seen if it's Pepe, if it's Martinelli, one of those two up top. We should have already seen that already. We're not going to go to Nketiah, right? We're not expecting to see Nketiah up top. So if he's going to make a change, it's got to be either Pepe, who hopefully is recovered, right? Or Martinelli, who supposedly has been practicing up there for at least a year now, right? So why not? Why not? We need to see if it works. And two, can Lacazette, he's not going to be able to play those 3 games in a week when we have them come up. I don't think he can do that. So not those 3 games. Those 3 games, no. Those are gonna be tough 3 games that we have I believe 2 of them on the road against tough opponents. This is the time to do it. Let Martinelli, you've rested him, right? You brought him in for whatever the last 20 minutes of the game. He's been rested now. The altitude issues that he had should be all recovered. He's back to sea level. He should be fine. Or if Pepe is good to go, boom, bring them in. And this is the problem with the way that at least the team's been managed. Pepe, Martinelli, Emil Sufro, and Saka should be rotating around as it is. I understand there's a week between games, but we're not seeing consistent play from them anyways. So I don't think the week off is helping. I think the week off is stemming their growth because they're not out there enough. I think they need to play more. But I also think when they're struggling, we should be able to switch them out. And that's why we have more than enough players in those positions. We don't have it in other areas. So we should rotate them around, especially when we have a chance. This is the time to do it. I think Pepe deserves to. He keeps saying Pepe's been doing what he needs. If he has, and he's back to normal. I mean, Saka was out during the break with COVID. He came back. He looked semi-okay. The whole team didn't look good, so we can't say he stood out worse or better. Pepe, same thing. If he's out for that, if he's ready to go, he should get an opportunity to play. Start maybe, but play definitely. So yeah, I would like to see a change. I'm fearful that Arteta thinks he can't do that because now he's going to take, if he takes Lacazette off, we now have to lean on Xhaka. And I just don't think I think that's too much pressure for him during a game. The leadership thing is not, he doesn't have the leadership thing during a game that I believe that Arteta says he has. Not like Lacazette. All right. He does not have that. He does not have that.
I look at a game like the Palace game, right, Gary, and I think to myself, moving forward after we get through the summer window, if Lacazette's gone and Xhaka's gone, and those 2 places are taken up with players who have a profile between the ages of, I don't know, 21 and 23, maybe coming from another league, and we have a game similar to the attitude you have in that Crystal Palace game, who is there to say, come on, let's pull ourselves together here? Is it because Tierney wasn't in the squad? But you need a couple of players, right? You need a couple that are going to be able to shoulder that responsibility and try and pull people out of the quagmire. So, I mean, I'm not even really seeing that from Lacazette in that last game. I saw really nil from him. No contribution at all. He was just in the way for me. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on this Lacazette situation, Lola. And as I was just saying, you look at next season after the window's shut, and if someone like Lacazette and Xhaka are replaced with players that have a profile between the ages of, say, 23 or so, and we have another funk of a game like Crystal Palace, who are the players that tells everybody to, pull their boots up and get on with it and stop feeling sorry for themselves?
Yeah, as far as leadership goes, I think Lacazette is, if he's out on the pitch, Lacazette should definitely have the armband. I think he is
right?
a leader.
Keep talking. I'm just going to get a beer, right?
All right. That's where I had to go. So you could tell during the game, at one point, I saw Lacazette going over and yelling at people. Not yelling, but, directing traffic a little bit. But I think, we have to start looking at the fact, yes, he's participating in goals. He has a number of assists. He's involved. And when our attack looks good, he's always in the middle of it. And then he's there to miss a shot, which is always fun. But I just, as far as leadership goes, I don't know who out there takes control after seeing them all sort of show their youth. As soon as we went down a goal, that's what it looked like. It looked like a bunch of young players, and maybe he is too far. I don't know. Maybe having the striker position as your captain, you're losing a little bit of that leadership in the middle of the park, where we would want like a Vieira type in the middle being the captain. But I still don't see starting Eddie Nketiah over Lacazette. However, I do believe Eddie Nketiah could have come on for Lacazette earlier in the match. Like that could have been the change at halftime, and we would have continued possibly defending. But Nketiah
you would have made that change at halftime. You'd have taken Lacazette off and brought Nketiah on after 45 minutes.
I see what he was doing, and I was actually okay with it because it was like, look, let's put our attackers on and let's get some goals back. Let's get one back quick. So I see that. I wouldn't necessarily have done that, but I don't think Lacazette ever came off, did he? Or he came off for Nketiah eventually? Or no, I think Nketiah was just added on. At the end, we had everybody up there. It's just we've been playing and we've been setting up everything to work with Lacazette not scoring goals. So if you put in somebody instead of him, like an Eddie Nketiah, who is only there to score goals, it changes everybody's roles. All of a sudden, Saka's not going directly at goal. Martinelli's not going directly at goal. I feel like the plan, that we've fallen into includes Lacazette, and it doesn't include him as a way forward DCL type striker or even Aubameyang's type striker up front. It's a more false nine-ish, maybe even Firmino style striker but that's what we're set up for, and that's why our goals are all spread around to everybody else. That's why we'll end this season with 4 10-goal strikers instead of 2 or 1 15, 20-goal striker. But that's the way our team is set up. So all the people saying, see, if we had a big guy up front, if we had a finisher up front, we would have nailed it. Yeah, but who missed the shots? I think it was Emile Smith-Rowe had a clear shot. Odegaard had a clear shot.
Yep.
It was just not. That's when it was like, it's just not our day. It's just not our day. Those balls have been going in, and we've been winning games 1-0, winning games by 1 goal, and it's because when that opportunity came, those balls were going in. And that day, even when we had our chances, they just weren't. And so having Giroud up there, doesn't really change that. Do you get what I'm saying? We haven't set up our team for that sort of striker. That's why when Nketiah comes on, we look so different, and everybody's like, oh, wait, now we have to feed this guy, as opposed to him pulling back, hold up play, sending us around.
Even Bobby Firmino scores goals, right? He did against us. He does chip in with the goals. He's not just an assist master. And Tony, I know that you've been a very big proponent of Lacazette, or you were for quite some time.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking back on, I think it was 27 minutes. Saka whips a ball in, and if only Lacazette just makes a run towards the post, he might be able to get on the end of it. But he doesn't even seem to be wanting to make runs to the near post. So, where are you now on our situation with Alexander lack of threat?
To me, with goals overall have increased, or shots have increased. To me, he's doing his job, but he isn't focusing on striking because he's trying to lead the players around, trying to do a little too much on his mind, so he's not taking the strikes that he normally take or make for runs.
I think you mentioned that you would still give him an increase on his contract this was maybe a couple of months ago. I think you said maybe by a year. Is that something that you would still warrant? And if so, why?
I'd still give him another year because we're going to need really 3 strikers because Maligan isn't ready. He needs to go out on loan. Eddie needs to go out on loan. And we still need a
But
world-class striker.
is it really prudent to increase a wage of he's already on about, I think it's 180 bags a week. Are we really going to
I'd keep him at 180. I'd keep him at 180.
When he could probably, but then you got to look at it from his point of view, where if he can leave on a free and go back to his club in France, where they probably give him the captain's armband and maybe give him the same or slightly increases his wage. I just think that for me, it's time now. There are 2 players in our squad that are holding us back. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that they're stale for Arsenal and that we should now be upgrading on them. And for me, that's Granit Xhaka and Alexander Lacazette. I'd still keep El Neni for another season as a bit part player, because I think that with especially now that we've got Thomas Partey out, even if we do start with a Sambi Lokonga, you would see probably El Neni coming in maybe later on in the game for Sambi Lokonga to close games out. But I mean, I don't see what Alexander Lacazette is offering us anymore. You know, I know that he had got some assists early on in the season, but that even seems to be drying up. And he looks like a man of 40 years old, not a man who's just turned 30.
I still think he has enough in the leadership. The young players look up to him. I think even if he's coming off a bench next season, it's enough to keep him around. Like I said, I wanted to increase his wages. Just have him go out there and fight for the team, which he seems willing to do. He's always going to a ref, talking to them. Just the other week, he kept Zaka from getting a red card because he wasn't coming to a referee. Kept yelling at him. He finally came begrudgingly over there. There had been another red card. Been another misfire we couldn't afford to have. Down another player. Down 2 with injuries. We're down 1 for 3 games from suspension. It's been a little too much. But I'm like you. I know I asked you last week what you thought of El Nini going away, Pereira not getting a chance going away. To me, I'd keep those players because they offer something. Our depth is crap anyway. You might as well keep them in there. Doesn't seem like Arteta fancies them because El Nini went and had a pretty good AFCON. Haven't seen him since. I don't think he's had 1 minute since he's been back. But that's all on Arteta.
So Lolo, you said here in the chat box, new contract for Laka, and you will tell us why. We are all ears.
Yeah, because here's the one thing is what we sell him, how much do we get for him?
No, he goes on a free in the summer, right?
Yeah, he goes on a free.
He goes on a free. Who do we get to replace him? We're going to have to spend a fortune to get the caliber of, to get what he is to us is going to cost us a fortune. So pay him the same thing. I think we say, hey, listen, 1 more year. You got us here. I'm still saying we're in Europe. Hopefully Champions League. Laka, you got us here. Play 1 more year here. We can have you focus on the Champions League, focus on the Europa League, whatever it is. But the leadership and what he brings so much more.
So you're keeping him the club captain for another season?
Yes, in a Mark Noble capacity captain, where he's not going to play every day. He's not going to play every match. But if he's out there, he's the captain. I just don't, there's who we will get to replace him is going to cost us a fortune, and it's still going to be I don't know. At least we know Laka's going to put in a shift. He's going to have some decent hold-up play. He's got a good rapport with the youngsters, and that's the process. We know that's the process now is bringing up the youngsters. He's got a good rapport with them. He knows their runs, things like that, where that's already baked in. Same thing with El Nene. We're going to need these types of players if we're going to do anything in Europe. What's the point of getting to Europe and not doing anything?
Thing is, though, the difference there is I think that El Neni still can offer us something that can help us. I'm at the stage with Alexander Lacazette that I don't actually see what it is that he's offering us, so much so that there are times when I feel that we're playing a man down. There are times as well with some of Xhaka's performances when he has his brain farts that sometimes it's like we're playing with 2 players out and we're only playing with 9 men. So if we've been managing to do so well in those circumstances, if we can upgrade in those 2 areas, I'd like to see what we can do with 11 players. Do you know what I mean?
But you say that, but sometimes when our wingers aren't doing anything and Odegaard's not doing anything, who is it that slows down the numerous fast breaks that are turning into nothing? Who can get it and slow it down and sort of start to dictate play a little bit and take control over the attack? And it's Lacazette up there, and I feel like he's, unfortunately and fortunately, he's a bit resigned to the fact that he may not be the highest scorer on the team. And you know what? That's not my sole job here. My job is to help us win any way we can. I'm Lacazette. I know I've lost a step. I'm Lacazette. I know everyone's always had a step on me to begin with. If I'm Lacazette, I'm coming to terms with all those things and realizing that my game is changing. And yes, I could possibly move to France and play for my old club. Are they in the Champions League? Are they going to be in the Champions League? What's the glory in that? As opposed to, look, you did all the hard work. You fought through this. You outlasted Aubameyang, your strike partner, and you helped pull these youngsters into a winning positions and into Europe, hopefully, where, you know what, now go see it through at least one season. Go see it through. Maybe you can show off a bit on the world stage and move on to, maybe you don't have to go to Lille or wherever he's thinking. Maybe a bigger club wants you. I don't know. I just think you've done all the hard work.
I also remember there was another move where he was in the penalty area. He was actually onside for once, because he gets caught offside quite a lot now when he does manage to get up to those heights of the field. And I think it was Emil Smith-Rowe that gave a lovely through ball to him. And he just got his feet all cluttered up and couldn't get a shot off.
Yeah.
You know, and those are the type of opportunities where a better striker, had we made the investment, would maybe then that's a goal. And then the game's it's kind of got a different complexion. So we're kind of into the second half now. Gary, is there anything about the second half that you'd like to bring up? I know that there was a penalty shout. Me personally, with some of these penalty shouts, they look a little bit tame. And we do speak quite often about how we don't seem to get any shouts anyway. I'm one of these people now where I'm like, I try to forget about the referees and the penalty shouts. I try to think, what is it that we can do where we don't have to have it in their hands? You know, I don't know what your thoughts are on the second half and the officiating as well.
I don't think that we know how these officials are going to play, and the players should know this already. They're not going to get anything, so they shouldn't assume anything. They shouldn't go down if they feel like they're getting pulled down. They need to, if they are going to go down, they need to make it blatant, like pretty clear that they went down because they got pushed. Otherwise,
like a stack of shit.
Like they need to sell it. It needs to be so blatant that, you know what, there was a foul here. You need to look at this, because we saw multiple times in the weekend that they would go to VAR to look at things that were like, and they didn't do that at all for us, and they never do. So our players need to be stronger because they're not getting the calls. They need to make it clear to the officials that there was a foul here. You need to take a look at this somehow. Even because the foul that you might be talking about is the one on Saka, and there's a blatant kind of push on him. There is tangling of arms, and maybe that's why they said, "Oh, it wasn't really that." But you're an offensive player.
In the words of Jada Smith, there was a Jada Pinkett Smith. There was an entanglement.
No, but so.
But you saw them run the VAR during the Everton match. They were
similar.
Hold
situation.
on. And we're like,
Similar
what? What's the stoppage of play? Sorry.
Similar situation though, and they didn't look at it. But you know what? Like you said, we had opportunities in the second half to score. We did not put our shots away, and we need to do that. And that's why Lacazette isn't really, to some degree, hindering us. We had more shots. We had double the shots than they did. We had double the shots that they did, and we were terrible.
They had 5 on target. 5 of their 6 was on target.
Yeah, we had like 136 forward, progressing passes in the second half or something like that.
So what when it's a tactical change, it worked because the first half we got nothing. Second half we looked really good. We needed to score and we just didn't. And that's maybe it could be, you could say we waited too late, but Martinelli started the second half, so we have one of our better players out there to try to get something out of the game, and we weren't able to do it until I think is it Parsley that came out? No, or Cedric. I don't know which one of those. When Cedric came out and Nketiah comes on, then you get fresher legs, more of an attacking style from that front. I guess 5 that we have at that point, right? And we looked much better. But no, the second half we needed to score. We just didn't, and that was a difference. We needed to score at least one. Do they get the third goal? Probably not. Probably not if we were able to score, because that's what the intent of the change was. You bring those players in, you're trying to get a goal, and we didn't do that. So the second half did not go our way. Did not go our way at all. We needed to score, and we're not clinical. And that's the issue, and that's why we only complain about Lacazette, because when he needs to be that guy. We need somebody to be that guy. We need to score. Who's it going to be? We don't have that guy that's going to
you need that
be in the box and
score with a goal, and everyone's like, "Oh, there's a ray of light."
Yeah, it's not even it's not even a striker. We need that guy who's going to score. He's in the box. The ball's at his feet. You're basically putting your hands up and getting ready to, the goalkeeper's pulling the ball out of the net. That's exactly how it works every time. We need that guy, and it could switch around to any of the players. We didn't have any player be able to do that. It used to be a Milsufrel, right? He comes in, closes, he puts the ball in the back of the net, and he couldn't. And he had a shorter shot, and he still couldn't get it past. No. Right? We've seen him take shots from outside the goal. One touch score. He's inside. He's almost inside the goalie. Almost right. He's just outside the goalie box, and he can't get it past to get a score. So just a bad day in terms of our shooting. Maybe I would say we waited too long, but we didn't. We had our opportunities. We weren't able to score, and that was a difference in it at the end of the game. We put ourselves in good position to do it, and I think Lacazette. I don't think we can afford to let anybody go right now. That's part of our everyday squad. So Lacazette, Xhaka, we really can't let them go. And it's not because I want them to start. We just don't have the numbers. Say we finish 6th. We're gonna, if you let those 2
that's go, my minimum requirement.
If you let those 2 go, you have to replace them. Yeah. Plus, you need to add on just to get your squad up to a European level in the first place, right? Is Maitland-Niles going to come back and be part of that rotation? No. Well, then he has to go, right? Is Tavares coming back? Nope. Right? Saliba has to come back, or else you just wasted your money. He has to come back. Like, we have situations where the players that are playing today, the same players that we should have next year, maybe they're not starters. And if they don't want to be starters, then they're going to either have to take a pay cut to leave because we can't afford to. We can't. We're not taking that. We're not doing whatever the player needs to get out because I think we need to be at some point cutthroat about this. We need to be what do they call it? What they call it, harsh or whatever they call it. We can't just be giving players away because they need to leave because we don't want to play them. Nah, that can't happen anymore. We don't have the space to do that in this squad.
But we also shouldn't be stockpiling players that are no good.
No,
No.
but I'm talking about
like
the
Ainsley
13
Maitland-Niles. I'll just
Yeah,
use that as an
yeah.
example.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about the 13 or 14 players that are everyday players that can come in and we don't miss a beat. Right now, we've found that Cedric can do a job, so we're fine with him. We know Emil Sufro coming off the bench can work, so that's another one, right? After that,
Pepe.
Pepe.
Little
I
bit
don't
of chaos.
think I don't think
Little bit
Pepe
of
right
chaos.
now is the man. I want him to be, but he's not proving us right or wrong depending on how you look at it. He's not doing it. He needs to come in and do a job. He knows he needs to come in and do a job, and he doesn't do it. Arteta does not have confidence in him. He's not playing him, right? If he's healthy and he's on the bench, or he doesn't start, or he doesn't come. If he's on the bench, he should come in and play against Brighton. I just looking at it. That team has given up 2 goals in 6 of the last at least 2 goals in 6 of the last 7 games.
Right, we're gonna get to Brighton, right?
So
hold your thoughts on Brighton for a little bit.
This
Gaz,
is no. So but to get back to it, I don't think we can let any players go unless we can replace them, plus still continue to build up the squad. We can't. We don't have the numbers to do that. So either players are coming in that we don't expect, or we are really good at our jobs, which we found out we are not good at a transfer window and getting in and out players in a timely fashion that we can actually utilize them before the season starts. So So I say we have to keep them all. When I say all, I mean the players that right now we consider part of that rotation that will play any day that we need them.
So before we get on to Tony's customary Don Juan man of the match, and just say Cedric, Tony, when I come to you, we'll keep that one really short and sweet. Is there anyone else that wants to talk about and mention anything about the second half in that game before we move on? Anyone? Second half?
Yes, I just wanted to make a note that I forgot about this when Gary was talking originally, but I sent out a text message during the match to an American friend of mine who's a Chelsea guy. And he was like, "What am I watching? Who is this team that I'm watching?" And I was like, "It looks like the US men's national team. The passes aren't that great, and then they hoof it up the field and hope somebody gets under it. But it's never to anybody. It's just like launch the ball forward and hope somebody gets under it." Even Ramsdale was doing that, where usually he picks somebody out. A couple of times he just kicked it to the other keeper. He's just like hoping. So I just wanted to mention, it looked very U.S. men's national team for a while there. And I was like, oh, you wonder why we follow the Premier League and not MLS.
Okay. So, Tony, say Cedric.
It'd be between Cedric and Saka.
Perfect. Right, moving on. Because there's not really that much. They were all baggers of shite, right? And Cedric was the best of a bad bunch. So, moving on then, we have Stan's Mailbag. And so
My favorite segment.
I've been dipping into the mailbag. I don't do this enough. I don't dip into the mailbag enough. So I've dipped in. I've got a few questions here, which I will dish out to everybody here. So the first one that we've got has been sent in to us by a gentleman by the name of Mo Lester, and Mo Lester is in Stevenage. And Mo asks, is Takahiro Tomiyasu even a real person? Lolo.
Yes, if that's his first name. I don't think I've read his first name since he first signed for the team, and it's something like that. But unless you're trying to fool us, I do believe he's a real person. I believe, and listen, if you stop believing, he is like Tinkerbell. So if we stop believing that Tomiyasu exists, it's Cedric from here on out, boys. So you have to believe. You have to believe in Tommy.
I mean, they seem to be really coy about injuries at the moment, and it's always for the next game. They're in training. I mean, Tomiyasu for me has never really seen the same since that guy stamped on his face, you know. So
no card.
I mean, has anybody heard anything about when he's expected back? Gary, do you know anything about it?
Full training next week.
Yeah, well, my understanding is he won't be ready until the Southampton game, which for me means he won't be ready until after the Manchester game, which is, 2 games later. So whatever he's got.
And then you got easy, right? I'd
Yeah.
worry about playing him straight away. In his first
Exactly.
game back.
And even if he plays, he's not ready to play the next 2 games right after that. The next 2 games after that are what? I think the next 2 games after that are Chelsea and United and West Ham. Those are the 3 games after the Southampton game. Which one is he ready to play? Do you remember how he played against Cucurella? Right? And that's what's scary, right? Tomiyasu is our best right back. Cucurella had him on skates, right? That was scary to see. And he's not going to be ready to play until Southampton, which we say is a tough game, but it's a tough game. So I believe, is it on the road or is it home? I can't remember. It's a away game.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be a tough game, like, Wolves game and all these other in Crystal Palace. So that's the first game he's going to bring him back. If he comes in and plays well, perfect. I just don't see it. Not with the timeout he's been, right? It's going to take him a while. And Cedric's fine.
Yeah.
Cedric is fine, right?
I'm liking what he's doing. I'm even saying now that, a backup for right back at the moment isn't a priority.
Yes.
That's not the main thing that needs to be done. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Next question then. The next question has been sent in by Dixie Normus from Des Moines in Idaho. And Dixie says, what do you guys think of the red shorts and should we wear them more often? Thanks and a big kiss to Gary. Sounds like you've got a fan there, Gary. I
don't know this. No, not it.
So,
no.
Are you a fan of the
you're trying to get me in trouble here on the airways here. No. You need to take that back.
Are you so anyway,
I'm not really a uniform guy. Just win, baby, is all I take. I don't care what you wear, just go out there and win, because we've seen different colors for the jerseys and stuff. So I think the white and red is the way it should be. White on the bottom, top, red up top. Leave it alone. There's no reason to change it. No reason to change it, right? No reason to keep it the way it is, and we'll go with that. So yeah, I don't. If you're asking me, leave it alone. It's good.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the red shorts, Lolo. Did you like the red shorts that we rocked?
No, and I'm putting them up here for you.
It's too Liverpool-y for me, man. It's too Liverpool-y. The red socks as well, I don't like.
Yeah, it was too much red, and I didn't know who, when I just glanced up, I was like, that's not us. And I had to actually go back and look. I was like, what do they usually wear? I don't know if I've ever thought about it. And then you're like, oh, yeah, of course. They're wearing those. But this was like, you notice the reds didn't all quite match exactly, or they matched too much that it hurt your eye. I was confused at what I was looking at, because it's not Liverpool red, it's not Man United red, but it was too much. Like, you hear them called Red Manchester and the Reds, and I never consider us a Reds team, even though all of our home kits are red, and I've got a bunch of them in my drawer, but I'm just like, I don't know. It was fun for a day, and we won, I believe, when we wore them, but
for me, that's
I mean, maybe they should have worn them every fucking day after that until we lost, like a beard, like if you're on a hot streak.
Okay.
I don't know.
So Next question is from Kimmy Head. Kimmy Head is in Helsinki, and Kimmy says, "Hello, I would like to ask if anyone has any regrets that Lego Head chased Aubameyang out of the club now that he's doing so well at Barcelona."
No.
So, Tony, I was coming to you.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I think with teams scored more goals, with teams more united, wage packets off of books, I think it's good business. I would have never signed him 2 years ago. I was against it. So I think he's a bad apple. The team's changed without him.
Yeah.
I don't think he should have ever been given a captain's band as a bargaining chip for him re-signing. I don't know why that was given to him. He's not a leader. I'm glad he's gone. No regrets at all.
Any Lolo? Any regrets?
Zero regrets.
No?
Zero regrets. It had to be done, and listen, if he would have made half of the goals that he had opportunities to make, I'm not talking about hard goals. I'm not talking about curlers from 30 yards out. I'm talking about the goals that he should have made. We wouldn't be having this. Like, he would still be there, because your attitude can be a bit shit, but if you're scoring every game, then, all right, I guess it's worth it. I guess he's still the captain. But it's like everyone who's like, see, he's done wrong by Arteta. The motherfucker wasn't performing. And he tried for 18 months, as Tony loves to say.
He used a system that didn't fucking work for him for 18 months.
He changed the system over and over, and to me, he was doing everything in his power to get Aubameyang goals, and he was in position to score a bunch of times.
That's why we finished 8th last year, because he kept persisting on something that didn't fucking work.
Gary, any regrets?
Aubameyang was getting opportunities to score. I don't think anybody in this panel will say he did not have an opportunity to score. And he is a world-class finisher with the ball at his feet inside the goal. I don't think anybody here will say different. Right? Yeah. Ball hit his feet in the box. He scored.
I just want to know where all these fucking headers were when he's playing for us. He's bagged at 3 or 4 for Barcelona.
I'm just telling you. That is
completely different system.
Who cares what he cares what they do? Who cares what he's doing?
I'm just talking about the head.
No. We're talking about what he did for Arsenal. Inside the box, ball at his feet, he scores. That's his job. That's the one thing he can do really well. He did not do that for Arsenal. And yes, we can go into whether or not the system worked for him, but he did have his opportunities. And the same way that we expect Lacazette to score when he has the ball at his feet in the box, Aubameyang is way better at doing that and finishing. And he wasn't doing it, so it's part mental, and he was letting other things affect his game, whether it was the manager, coach, system, everything else going on in the world. He let those things bother him. So some would say he probably checked out, but that's his job. That's the one thing we always say about him. He can finish with the ball at his feet, right? If he can't do that and he's not going to do the other things, he's got to go. Arteta's showing us that. He does have his favorites, I think, in some respects, but if you can't do the job for him and he doesn't feel comfortable with you, then he's going to let you go, and that's what happened. Did we have to spend all that money to let him go? I think a properly run team doesn't have to do that. I think you can't be spent. You could have bought a play in for $7 million. We pushed him out the door and then paid $7 million. Are you kidding me? A properly
Sometimes
run
you gotta
team.
spend money.
You got to. The only way you make the money is you bring somebody else in to fix the problem.
And the only way you get that motherfucker off of our wage bill is by paying him to go.
At least if you didn't do anything with that whole opportunity. You did nothing with it. You got nothing out of this deal. Nothing.
We got rid of him. As great of a player as he is, and I am a big Aubameyang as a player fan. I loved him at Dortmund. Was stoked we got him. But where was I going with that? I don't even remember, Gary.
No. If you did all of that to get him out the door, but you wouldn't. Why would you go all out to get him out the door.
because
But
he
you're
was
not.
a
But
he was
no,
a
no, no.
disease
But
in
no,
the club.
but you will not
Yep.
actually bring in. You're telling me there was nobody in this transfer
No, now
window that we could have
that's a
brought in.
different thing. But you
Not
can't say
one
that
player.
it was nothing. Sometimes you have addition by subtraction. We became a better club as soon as he left.
No,
The proof
we
is
were
in the
better.
pudding.
We were a better club before he left. All we did
When
was
he
just.
stopped playing,
Well,
when we
I guess
stopped playing him.
that means if he stayed with the club, nothing was going to change because he wasn't going to play. Like
Mm.
is that
Why
was
He's
can't-
still
gonna,
in the locker
like,
room. He's
like
still
we're
in the
gonna.
locker room talking. He's tweeting.
We
It's
weren't.
all
We
about
weren't
where's
scoring.
Aubameyang.
We weren't scoring and winning when he was doing what you just said he was doing. We weren't scoring. We weren't putting up more goals in that whole time. He was still in the club.
There's still clicks there that
No. That's not
distracts
what I
from the
asked
team.
you. You're talking. What happened when he wasn't playing? Did the goals go up? Did we have some wins in a row?
Yeah.
And he was still in the club. So
Yeah.
it
No,
was. So the team.
he wasn't
at
in
that
first
point.
team training. He was exiled. He's
Yeah,
exiled
he
every
was
time.
exiled.
So-
But what he's
so
saying
you-
he's still there. So you
Yeah,
could
but
have kept him.
he could. I'm saying we got nothing out of that. For me, we just spent some money. I don't know if we saved any money by kicking him out. I'm not sure. But if we did, it's a little bit.
Yeah.
But for me, you could have brought somebody in. Like
My
we
nan,
go
my
out.
nan, we all know about my nan was available. but,
Your nan can do a lot of things, and we just don't.
No,
we just
no.
will not. We won't actually.
we should have just pulled the trigger on that one. But listen,
At some point.
move on from the Aubameyang, and it's our final question. And the final question has been sent in by a Mr. Dobalina, Mr. Bob Dobalina, who is in Dumfries. And Mr. Dobalina, Mr. Bob Dobalina, would like to know: the manager promised we would be playing Champions League in 3 seasons. He promised that to Willian. This is now his 3rd season. If he fails, should he go? And if yes, who would you replace him with? Thank you very much for that question, Mr. Dobalina, Mr. Bob Dobalina. So, Tony, if he doesn't fulfill his promise that he made to Willian that we'd be playing Champions League football within 3 seasons, and this is his 3rd season, would you keep him? Would you chuck him? And if you would, who comes in?
I would chuck him because I think his top 4 are bust. They said last year.
Who's coming in then?
Him and Adu said it's top 4. This year they never set a goal. It would have been Ten Hag, but now he's off the table.
So who
Now
are you bringing in?
Now I would just go who beat us after an international break twice this year. I'd go with Big Pat. Be an instant culture change.
Because
He gets a lot out of little players.
I've seen people coming out of the woodwork and saying put Patrick Vieira in. So you're saying that if we don't get Champions League football, sack Arteta, and you would appoint Patrick Vieira.
Yep.
Okay, Lolo.
So
the first part is if we don't get Champions League football, are you sticking with Arteta because you like what you see, or no? There's targets, there's goals. You don't go.
Oh, it's torn.
Well, it's tough because you have the passionate fan in me who's like not good enough. You've been here this long. Things are changing. Things have gone. We haven't hit this mark that even you set. Now you're not reading that there was an asterisk there where he said we will make Champions League in 3 years. Asterisk if you are still with us, Willian. So he made sure like at year 2, get the fuck out of here. So that quote doesn't count. Quote doesn't count.
It's William's fault. Okay.
We would have done it had we kept Willian. We need that depth. But no. The thing is, they're not going to. That's where I'm torn with. Like they're too invested in the process. And the process, as we've mentioned on the show many times, is Mikel Arteta. And right. I think he's ingraining himself into this leadership role. And they're praying to God, the heads, whoever's running the show, is praying to God that got another Wenger on our hand, and we don't have to get rid of a manager for 20 years. And they so want to prove everybody wrong. Not that they're doing anything about it, but they're just like, if we just keep him long enough, he'll accomplish something. And it's slowly progressing. And yes, everybody says finish 7th or 8th, finished 8th. This is not progression. Even if we
question then, right? If we get into the Europa League, but not the Champions League, me personally, at the beginning of the season, I set my goal as the minimum requirement has to be Europa League. And even though we've headed up to where we are now, I've not moved the goalpost. I've stuck with that. Yes, I'd be disappointed if we don't get Champions League, but I would accept Europa League and I would keep Arteta. How do you vary on that?
So here's where I am. To actually answer the question, no, I wouldn't get rid of him if we didn't get in the Champions League. Okay. I expect us to be in Europe in some form, even if it's the Europa Conference League or whatever that is, playing midweek. That's the goal this season. But sorry, no, that is a goal. My goal is to see progression as a whole, not like, oh look, we had one striker that was incredible this year, or oh look, one person on the team became a superstar. No, I need to see a whole team progression. And you can't, it's hard to deny that Arteta is, like it or not, he's a character of Arsenal now. And he has changed things in Arsenal. Just the Aubameyang move was huge. The benching Aubameyang for a North London derby. Huge.
Ozil.
These are pivotal decisions, and he benched him for the North London derby. We won the North London derby. He finally got rid of him and paid to get rid of him, and we go on a win streak. Yes, Gary, he was there for a bit, but the whole plan was getting rid of him. So if you look at the grand story of Arsenal, because we're not a flash in the pan, we're not a tin pot club, we're a 100-year. We're going to be a 1,000-year club. And we will look at this you remember when Arteta, everyone was screaming Arteta out. You remember Arteta, the guy who managed for 50 years because he's a vampire? He benched our captain, our best arguably our best player in the North London derby for being late to the bus. You remember that? The ball's on him. Why don't we have coaches with balls anymore? You know, you can see them in their head. They're like, this is how we get in the history books, is by sticking with somebody who is divisive with our community. But the big thing is I'm seeing changes. Not that I'm a hardcore Arteta in person. I'm just not an Arteta out person. I'm we can't just keep changing managers. And it actually seems like we are making some headway. And all these kids that we talk about the money, if him and his staff are developing the younger youngsters besides Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, we could be making tons of money selling these players. If they're coming up, if he's creating a system, an entire Arsenal-wide system, and yes, it sucks to say, but I feel like if we have the patience to see this out, it could be great. Could be. But I do see movement in that direction. I'm not seeing movement backwards, so I hate to say, it's like Lacazette. Give him one more year.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Brighton before we get out of here. Before we do that, I just wanted to ask Gary's opinion as well regarding that last question that we had there from Mr. Barb Dabalina, who wanted to know, if we don't get into Europe and he doesn't fulfill the promise that he laid out, his prophecy to Willian, does he go? Or are you seeing enough that you would still persevere with him? Because me personally, my worry is if we get rid of him, he hasn't made his targets, then my biggest worry is who do we get in? Does that person come in and rip up everything that Mikel's done, and then we're starting again, and we're in this constant state of flux of rebuilding? You know, so if you do get rid of him, Gary, you've got to tell me who you're going to bring in. Don't say Sam Allardyce.
Nah, when this first thing came out, Arteta in, Arteta out, I was Arsenal in.
Shake it all about.
And that was like, oh, that's a safe thing. I'm like, that just means to me I don't care. If Arteta's not the man, then he has to go. If Arteta is the man, then he stays. He hasn't proved himself worthy of getting an extension, so that should have never even been a report that came out in the news. There's no way Arsenal should be thinking about re-upping with their manager who hasn't actually, for me, established met any of the goals that I believe as a owner or management has done.
How did that get out? Right? You'd think that even if they were thinking that they would maybe do it quietly, but then lie at the end of the season and then say it. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. No, definitely. So that part I just didn't get. So I believe if he finishes in top 6, then he's still an Arsenal manager.
Okay.
He needs to improve on that then to get an extension. And say we are sitting in a good situation where, like, mid-season, we are sitting in the top 5 position at least. We are going deep in domestic cups. We've made it out of a group stage of one of the Europa, like the Europa. I think it'd be tough for us to make it out of the group stages in Champions League. But say we're progressing in the cups like we should be, because we're that quality. We are a better team than we were, and we have looked good in the Europa. In Europa, I expect us to get out of the group. I don't care. We need to get out of the groups, no problem. So those things are non-negotiables for me. If that's what otherwise he's gone. All right, and who do we bring in? Yeah, we'll be starting over again. But if you're seeing he can't continue to trend down, he can't start a trend downwards. I don't think that's gonna work for him, because that means you're gonna have to throw money at him before you let him go, just to make sure it's just not a blip, but not a constant trend that's going on. Who they bring in? I mean,
are you getting rid of him then? So you're going to get, you can only bring someone in if he's got to go.
Yeah, no, I know. And like, does the manager, is it of Italy? Is he available? He's not doing anything for a couple of years, right?
Mancini.
Yeah, he's not doing anything. I believe that there are managers in the Premier League that you probably, if you could move on from there, that you could do better with what you have. If you're gonna back him the same way, Vieira sounds like, I think, did they have interviewed him, or they didn't interview him? I can't remember how that all went with him. They didn't interview him. So they like Arteta over probably one of the better captains Arsenal's had. Right? That's basically what they're saying. Somebody with experience, somebody who's actually done a job multiple times in multiple
To be
leagues.
fair, I don't think the Cronkies are even that aware. I think it was more of them being advised by maybe Ivan Gazidis and then Raul Signelli. I think the Cronkies put their trust in good faith with people. But look at Gazidis. He fucked off. And on the way out of the door, they said, "Oh, who should we appoint? Well, who's going to take your place?" And he went, "Yeah, Raul." But they choose Raul, and they went, "Oh, all right then."
But I think all these guys are under the same book. This is why they're all looking at the same notes, right? So, are we expecting any changes? Probably not. Arteta, they bring him in, they can probably control a little bit more than usual. They bring in somebody else with like an understanding of how this thing needs to go, and that's why they don't go with seasoned veterans in the coaching ranks. I mean, when we played Brighton the last time, I believe, at least for me, I was like, that team was coached well, and they have nowhere near the quality of player that we have. Vieira came into a situation with players that did not look good the season before. They have made some adjustments, but I think as a manager and coach, he's done pretty well with getting them to overachieve, and that's what Arsenal needs to overachieve with whoever they have in the squad. Are we overachieving with anybody outside of, right now, to me, Cedric. No, right? Nobody's overachieving based on what you've seen in the past, right? We're seeing natural progressions of the youth, right? In Saka and Milsrif Rowe, Martinelli, but we're not seeing like overachievements where you go, damn, we didn't know that they had this in them, and this looks much better than what we saw before. Like Cedric has done that for us in the last number of games, but before he was struggling. So, is it a blip? We'll find out because we're going to have to continue to use him. So I think he's got a lot. He needs AirPod Albert needs to do whatever he did in that City game. That's what we need to see again because I missed that. You take me back and tell me something that I want to see again. I want to see the team that played like that because they can do that against Brighton and it won't even be close, right?
Good
and I think you have the players to do that.
Exactly.
Good segue. Good segue. Before we get into the Brighton match, right now we've got 9 or 10 people watching. A little bit of housekeeping. If you'd like to help the channel, please click on the like button. It does help us out. And also you'll see scrolling at the bottom of the screen the information there where you can make a donation to help Tony get his new peg. If you're listening on the replay or you don't know, Tony had a bit of a mishap. He's only got one peg at the moment. We're trying to raise some money for him to get his prosthetic leg. The details are scrolling along. A couple of quid, whatever you want. Just if you buy fags, go back to some fags, put a packet of fags money in. It's about a $5 or a $10. Every little bit helps. So
yes, it does.
We're gonna be getting out of here soon, and I know that when Ray watches this back when he lands in Ireland, which is why he's not here, he'll be laughing his tits off because usually I'm the one that's usually about 2 minutes before 2 hours. I'm like, hurry up, Ray, we need to get out of it, and here we are at 16 minutes past 2. So, 60 minutes. I'm telling the time, 2 hours 16. So before we get out of here, I just want to go around the horn, and if you can let us know in the chat box your predictions as well for the next home game that we play on Saturday against Brighton. Tony, what do you think is going to happen at Brighton? Any changes you'd like to see? Any thoughts on that one?
Like I said, I've got to roll with dice. Try Smith Rowe up front. If not, have him replace Zaka because I don't see why Zaka is playing at 8 or 10 or whatever the hell he's playing. It's kind of a wasted player, wasted space on the pitch. But it's a game I think we should win 3-1, if not more than that.
A 3-1 home win.
Yep.
Are you sticking with Tavares at left back? And who are you replacing Partey with?
I'm replacing Partey with Sambi. I'm torn. I'd like to go with a back three a little bit because it's solidified the defense, but I never have liked Rob Holding on the right. So I keep the same formation we've been doing. We've been playing Partey deep. I just have Sambi in that role. But I would replace Zaka out of there. I'd get probably Smith Rowe in there.
Lolo?
Yeah, I am going with 3-2. I think it's going to be a scrappy game, but we're gonna fight back from that. We're gonna take the win, but our defense is going to be tested a little bit. I think our stubborn Arteta will stick to the exact same lineup minus Partey and any other unforeseen injuries, just to show that it wasn't the lineup that was wrong. Like he likes to do. But I'm going to see him replace Partey with El Nene. This is an El Nene type of game, I'd say. Yeah, as much as I would like to see Sambi get in there and work out, basically. Like, he needs some Premier League time. Sambi is somebody who would really have benefited had we been in Europe or other other cups longer, because he would have gotten more play and could really show off.
What about starting with Sambi and bringing in El Neni a bit later? Because El Neni's, apparently, from what I'm hearing, is going to be leaving on a free.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be.
Yeah,
He's
so
not going to
possibly.
be around for that. For the cause.
Yeah, possibly. I could see that. I mean, I wouldn't. I'd actually prefer to see Sambi, but I
He's
just
the
feel like
future.
Arteta is going to go with a little bit more stability.
And what was your prediction?
3-2 Arsenal.
3-2 to Arsenal. Gary,
Yeah.
any changes you're making? I mean, we've got the big one with Thomas Partey. I think we all agreed earlier that Tavares gets another go, help him build some confidence rather than just giving up on him already. But what are you doing in the midfield?
Yeah, so in the midfield, yeah, that's going to be a tough one. I think we brought Sambi in to back up Partey. We need to back up Partey, so you bring him in. I definitely believe we're not going to have a single pivot back there.
So I'm just
Where's
looking
that
at
one come from?
Yeah. Why not sentiment? He's got his favorites, and they're few and far between. Let's just say that.
It's Gary's birthday
Arsenal's-
as well. You came in a bit late tonight. Why not?
Yeah,
It's Gary's
why not?
birthday, man. So you know what I mean. Be nice. It's Gary's birthday.
Yeah, and I finished my drink, so I'm just drinking water now. But
Man's drinking water on his birthday. Kind of.
I already had enough. I had more than.
I saw you. What was that you were drinking with the ice cubes? I saw you gone from the beard. A whiskey.
Yeah, a cognac, a Hennessy. So yeah,
nice.
So that's how I kind of finish off the night. No,
Very nice.
Here's my kind of. I'm going to dump it all out on you. We have to score 3 goals and win by 3 goals. I don't care. That's the only way I feel like we've redeemed ourselves from what we just saw in the last game. The team we are playing shut out one team in the last 7. Guess who they shut out? Norwich. Everybody else scored at least 2 goals.
I saw a good stat, Gary. Brighton have drawn 9 of their last 13 away Premier League matches in London.
Not against this team, not the way we just played, not with what's on the line. That's how that has to be. That's the only way it's going to work. No.
They told your stats to fuck off, Stan.
You're not coming to our house. You're not coming in with any kind of we can get something out. Who scares you on that team? I'm looking at the lineup that they played in the last game. Who
Danny
scares
Welbeck.
you? Pookie? No, wrong team. Sorry.
Oh,
Danny Welbeck, Mopao,
yeah.
whatever that guy's name is.
Mopai.
You know what? Nah.
Mopai.
No, they're not coming to our house. And if Pookie and anybody else in the Norwich team can hold them to no goals, guess what? Tavares, Cedric can definitely make sure they don't score on us. You know what I mean? I'm looking at I don't know any of those names. Except for Pookie. That's the one that stands out. I don't know why, but Pookie stands out. All right?
You just like Pookie.
I just like Pookie, but who doesn't like Pookie?
It's Pookie time. So what's your prediction?
It's a 3.
How many times can a man say Pookie?
I think if Pookie can hold them to 0 goals, we can do the same. But
Where's Pee Wee Herman? It's a word of the day.
We are winning by 3 goals. That's all I need. That's the only way I feel like we've redeemed ourselves.
Yeah, Basuma's playing, no, isn't he? Basuma?
Yeah. I don't care. I don't care. We have to have a plan to come out. I believe we have the better attacking players when you put it down, like the way they've been playing. I expected us to at least worst case draw, but I thought we should have been able to win the last game. This team needs to come out with a little bit more fire, a little bit more ambition, and they should be upset with the way they played in the last game, right? You had opportunities to score in that game. Guess what? You don't know when they're going to come, but when they do, you put it away. Guess what? This game from minute 0 to 90.
There's a shout. Why don't we should play maybe Lacazette in midfield? I mean, he's basically there most
of
the time. Anyway.
See, and that's the thing I don't get. If you're asking him to do a particular role, and the role really caters to somebody who sits in the midfield, then let him do it. Let him do it and let somebody else have a chance up top, right? He's not. Why are you wasting a position and then asking him to play both cover, in front of your defensive midfielders,
Full
and
time.
also then move forward up as well. No, let him play.
Gary's taking care.
No, think about it. We say, what is Xhaka doing that Lacazette can't do? Tell me what in any of the games where you've seen Xhaka come back and support the team in midfield, all the way back on the back line, he's done everything.
He's got an engine now, when Lacazette doesn't have an
So
engine.
if he's going to do,
Lacazette's got an engine, it's the engine of a lawnmower.
Yeah, but if you're asking him to do those things, and like that's where, like, for me, when I look at where they've kind of pushed Xhaka up the field. Okay, well, you know what? I think Zombie can do that job if you really think about it, right? And we're not going to lose anything because he's farther up the pitch. Any of his mistakes, there's still cover. There's still distance between him and the goal. You're not losing anything, but you might actually have a player that can actually move the ball forward. To those who have said happy birthday to me, thank you very much. I see Big Gunner. Why not sentiment? Anybody else said hi to me? But yeah, anybody else who's said it, thank you very much. I appreciate it. As I've said before, I stopped counting at 39 because what's the point? What's the point? I am the same age as what's his name up there? Lolo. Don't I look younger than him, and he's supposed to be well younger than me.
I have partied way more than you in my life.
You know what?
Ask him why he's got all that gray in his beard.
Since my college days, I would say yes. You probably are well past me, but I think I did a good job when I was in my 18 to 24.
Sounds like you did a good job tonight so far.
I think I did. I think I did all right.
Let's just say my college years weren't my wildest years, and my college was in New Orleans. So,
yeah, no, I can, yeah. I spent and I have spent some time in New Orleans during my college years. No, but what I would say is we need to win by 3 goals for me to be satisfied that, you know what, we have something going forward. If I don't see that, then I know that we've got a big mountain to climb. Big mountain.
Dan, did you know it took Gary 15 minutes to answer you?
I know, and that's why I'm going to say right now it's 2 hours and 26. I'm going to wrap it up here now. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat box for coming in and spending 2.5 hours with us, picking the bones out of that last game. We will have a show on Sunday. I'm not sure if Ray's going to be back or somebody else will be sitting in the chair on his behalf. I'd like to say a big thank you as well to the 3 guests that have been on for the last 2.5 hours. Lolo joining us from the stoop all the way over there in Brooklyn. Thank you so much for coming in. Raised some good points. Also to the birthday boy sitting below him, Gary, don't waste a tweet. Hope you're going to have a great time for the rest of the evening with your family. Enjoy a little bit more of that Hennessy. Thank you for coming by and giving us some of your insight as usual. And last, but by no means least, Tony Turner. Tony, say goodnight.
Good night, Tony.